There's nothing as good for your sense of well-being as feeling resonance with the earth, with nature, within your own body, and with the loved ones, with the people around you. When you feel this resonance with one of your animals or multiple animals, that really holds a special place in our hearts. We actually feel resonance quite literally in our hearts. And by design, this resonance feels so good that it can turn the worst day into a really beautiful experience just by feeling that resonance at some point throughout the day. Playing Thunder with your dog is a fantastic way to experience resonance, and it's as satisfying for you as it is for your dog. It's a really, really fantastic game. Thunder is one of the top go-to games for people who do game-based training with their dogs. People just love the game, their dogs love the game, and it's so simple, but it's so satisfying. And both us and our dogs what we want more than anything really is to resonate with those around us. And in order to resonate, we have to be able to move energy through ourselves smoothly, and then to pass it back and forth between each other smoothly. Everything moves in waves. Energy moves in waves. We have sound waves, we have light waves, brain waves, electromagnetic waves. Even digestion is a series of waves. And when the waves feel smooth, we feel good. Smooth waves create a sense of well-being, a sense of being able to move well through life and being able to handle life, to take it in, to process it, to give it back. Smooth waves give that feeling of well-being. Locomotion is also a wave, as is emotion, which is, and we know this innately. That's why we say things like, I felt a wave of emotion come over me. Thunder is a game that allows the dog to feel the joy of the locomotive wave and also the joy of an emotional wave, and it allows us to feel that same joy from the emotion as much as locomotion. So when we can join our different waves together, so the dog has a wave, the human has a wave. In Thunder, the arm is moving in a wave, even though the human is stationary. When we can join those together and synchronize them, whether it's in Thunder or in anything in life, if it's with our kids or at work or playing the piano or dancing or anything that we're doing, writing, speaking, when it makes a smooth wave with others, synchronizing with others, that is the greatest feeling of well-being that there is. We are, by design, social beings by design, seek those synchronous waves. There's a reason that that's the greatest feeling that there is, because that is how energy gets moved efficiently and effectively. And life is the movement of energy. Death is stillness when it ceases to move. So there is that desire, and by design, that's the greatest feeling in the world, is that resonance there. So in all of life, energy is constantly being passed back and forth between things. It's being passed back and forth from one being to another, from human to human, human to dog, human to rabbit or animal, or dog or horse to horse. It's always being passed. When there's more than one being, it's being passed back and forth between them, whether we want it or not. This isn't a conscious thing, it just happens. And it's being passed between beings and objects. reflective surfaces reflect energy back at us, and absorbent surfaces, or like soft or dark surfaces absorb energy. So energy is constantly moving and flowing, even between inanimate things. And it's moving between beings and the entire environment. There's not just an object, it's everything around us has energetic properties that reflect and absorb energy. So there's this constant transfer of energy going on. And this is why we behave the way that we behave. And our ability to process that energy, to flow it, to be smooth with it or not, is really what the behavior is. It's what I call the energetics of behavior. The energetics of behavior is that transfer of energy that's going on that causes or results in particular behaviors. And this energy, this passing back and forth of energy, is energy in motion, or emotion. Emotion is energy in motion. And emotion is what we feel from a combination of the energy coming at us or being absorbed, plus how we move it through or do not move it through our own bodies. This is why we describe our energetic experiences in physical ways. We say things like, I felt like I was on cloud 9. I felt like I was floating. I was dragging my feet. You drag your feet. The reason you say, I feel like I'm dragging my feet, is because your head, your mind, believes that you should be doing something because you've been, told that, or somehow convinced yourself that you should be doing it. But energetically, your body's not so sure. Maybe it's had bad past experiences. Maybe you're subconsciously have awareness of stuff that is actually dangerous that your mind isn't noticing, your conscious mind isn't noticing. But there's something there that's causing that feeling of your head being ahead of your center and your feet. So you say it feels like you're dragging your feet. We say we drop in to check on someone. And often we say that even when we're going upstairs, we're going to drop in and check on them. What are you dropping into? Well, you're dropping out of your head into your heart so you can feel them. So we already know these things, and we talk about it. It's all over our language. We talk about it all the time. It's really very fascinating. And when that transfer of energy happens smoothly, we feel resonance. We feel good. We get a sense of well-being. So dogs, especially dogs and humans and horses, all living beings, all social living beings, but especially these ones, really want, first and foremost, they have a desire for that smooth transfer of energy between us. And that's why, like a confident dog, when they encounter another dog or human or another being or even a statue that they expect to move, when they encounter something that's still and not engaging them, they will usually offer a play bow. And a play bow, what they're offering when they offer a play bow is a wave. They're offering a wave. They are offering a body position that maximizes the potential to absorb and pass back smoothly any energy that the other being may then choose to give off. So the wave allows that, but also the shifting of the weight into the hind end to lighten up the front end and then suppling the shoulders in the play bow just allows for any action to take place. The dog can go up, they can go down, they can go side to side, they can do anything. So they become completely absorbent, which is why it feels playful, because now whoever they're interacting with, it's very easy for them to give off energy because it can easily be absorbed by the dog. That's the beauty and the brilliance of the play bow. So that's how we would begin the process of getting resonance with something that's not interacting with us. Another way to do it, other than offering like a play bow, is, how often have you encountered someone that was maybe just sitting with their arms crossed, kind of pouting, and they don't really react when you come over, but you want to interact with them. And so very often, in fact, even usually, I would say, our response naturally is to mimic their posture. And when you see that, how often do you kind of cross your arms and put a little pout on your face and then say, why the sad face? Or why the pout? Or what's wrong? But first you adopted their same body position. And as you can see in the picture here, animals do this as well. And that is because when you adopt that position, you can feel what they are feeling. And so it begins the resonance conversation. It gives you a starting place for that resonance so that you can, move it into something more complex. And when we want to connect with something that's moving, we mirror the movement. And this is not a conscious thing. This is not something that you think about. It's purely subconscious. It's automatic and it's instant. Your conscious mind can't do things instantly. Conscious processing is slow, and it can only handle a few inputs at a time. This requires gazillions of inputs, and it's something that can only be done below the mind, subconsciously. But so this mirroring, which happens automatically, can be opposite or it can be the same, but it's still mirroring. It's just variations of mirroring. And the more perfect that mirroring is, the higher the sense of resonance, and the higher the sense of well-being, the higher the sense that you can live fully and effectively in that scenario. So to kind of help you gain a conscious awareness of this feeling of the passing back and forth of energy, the energetics, the transfer of energy, and to get a feeling of how the smooth transfer of energy provides that sense of well-being, a really simple thing that you can do is play catch with a ball. And just take a ball and, take a person who's interested in this work and wants to learn something and just start playing catch. It doesn't matter what you do. People do all kinds of funny things at first. They'll throw it really hard or, try and make the other person miss or, throw it fast or throw it slow, or they get embarrassed and they don't want to throw it at all. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Just do something. Just play catch. But then, as you play, start going into this. It's almost slow motion. It feels slow motion when you're doing this. But going into just a slow and gentle passing back and forth of the ball, just be fully present and just feel your body, feel the ball. Don't think about it. Just pass it back and forth. And notice how as you become synchronous, you start to feel flow. You'll feel it in your heart, you'll feel it in your body. And the playing of catch actually becomes very, very mesmerizing. The more synchronous you can be, the more mesmerizing it becomes. And, I'm doing it here with a 7-year-old, so it's not quite to the point of mesmerizing yet. It takes us longer to get into it. She'll get there. If you're doing it with an adult, you can get there quicker, but you do achieve that place where it's just mesmerizing. You almost don't want to stop. It's really very beautiful. And the ball just makes the passing of energy back and forth visible. I love to use the ball to help people understand it. It's always happening. The same thing is happening with or without the ball, but the ball makes it visible, so you really get a good understanding of it. So now I'm going to turn around and apply that back to Funder. I really did actually want to talk about Funder. So what's happening in Funder that makes it feel so good and that has made it become probably the go-to game for games-based trainers? Why? What's going on there? Well, first of all, in Funder, the dog gets to experience the joy of the locomotive wave, the joy of running. This is when the dog moves well. They don't always start off moving well, but when they get to the point where they're moving well, they get to experience basically a sense of weightlessness and freedom that comes from, um, it comes from the locomotive wave. From the more perfect that the locomotive wave is, the more they can experience weightlessness and freedom, because there's a mirroring going on in the wave between the full collection of the legs tucked under the body and then the full extension of the legs extended out front and back fully. And those two, when they mirror each other, so when they're the same, distance back and forth and mirror, they kind of cancel each other out and create a feeling of weightlessness. And there's also a mirroring going up and down from the suspension in the air to the contact with the ground and back to the suspension in the air. But the more perfectly that all that mirrors, the more free that the movement feels. And Thunder helps the dog get into that state and experience the joy of that locomotive wave. And us just watching them, because emotionally our heart is with the dog, we also experience joy from that dog performing that locomotive wave. And so that's cool in and of itself. But if that's all that there was, Thunder would just be, a game of running. But Thunder is way more magical than that. That's why we love it so much. And the magic of Thunder really comes from two beings synchronizing their waves. So if you look at the human for a minute and forget about the dog, with the human is stationary, as in, they're not moving around on the ground, but the body is not stationary. So there's a beautiful grounding in the human when they stand firmly with their legs and body making a bridge for the dog to run under. But also, even though they're stationary, one arm is moving throughout the game of Thunder, and that arm is making a wave. So the human has this beautiful combination of, grounding and strength and certainty, and plus a wave going on. And just like in the game of playing catch with the ball, the hand that's moving in the human has a common object in it, the food. And that common object is an object that you and the dog together and train your movements around. It's how you synchronize your waves. That food becomes a focal point for you to synchronize your waves together. So the wave that your hand makes as you're throwing the food will be a mirror, or the dog will mirror that wave as they're running to get the food. Now, how cool is that? This is something that cannot be processed consciously. And it's even, until you've trained your eye, it's very, very hard to see in real time. Once you've trained your eye to notice, smoothness versus things that are not smooth, that are a little jarring or abrupt or whatever, then you start seeing it. But initially you need to slow it down, which is why I show a lot of slow motion in here. But these waves, our two waves are synchronizing, and they sort of culminate in that brief moment of total unity when the dog is running right through your legs, when they're directly underneath you. And then they run out the other side, they grab the common object, and then they come back and do it again. And so there's waves within waves. There's little microwaves, and then there's the bigger, waves of the whole game, which goes back and forth, and all the way up into the wave of life. But there's waves at all levels. But that's the magic of the game of Thunder. The game is really, really beautiful for these reasons. Thunder is often, and I would say Thunder is almost always discombobulated at first between you and your dog. But the act of getting better at Thunder, the act of it becoming more fun, is the act of smoothing out and synchronizing your waves. This is why a well-played game of Thunder is pure bliss. So clearly, Funder is an awesome, awesome game. And one of the best things that you can do for you and your dog's sense of well-being is to experience this resonance that Funder provides so much opportunity for and a way to get it so easily. So if you want to feel better, if you want to feel a strong sense of well-being, if you want your dog to feel that safety and well-being and belongingness, go play Funder. Have some fun.